What's going on YouTube? Optical 20 here for another video review. This time it's Derrick Rose. He's in the Chicago Bulls from Enterbay. You can purchase this figure at bigbadtoystore.com. Just click the link in the description. Start off with a box. You know, it says Bulls. We know that he plays for the Knicks now, but who knows where he's gonna play for next year. We're about to find out. But you know, this is an older figure, so I picked this one up. As you know, I'm from Chicago, so I'm a big fan. I still am a big fan of Derrick Rose, even though he doesn't play for the Bulls anymore. You know, he has done a lot for the city, and you know, he loves Chicago. Even on the playoffs, this last playoffs against Boston, he was there. He was there to watch the game. I don't know if he's there to support the team because he doesn't have any teammates in there anymore outside of Jimmy Butler and Nico. I believe that's the only teammates that he knows. But yeah, I still picked this up. The good thing about Enterbay is that even if they switch teams, you can always find the uniforms. That's all you need. You know, just switch out his uniforms, unless he changes hairstyle, which he did. He has kind of like a small fro going on now, but that's okay. It's still a pretty good sculpt, and it's still, you know, it's still pretty strong. So I picked him up, and you know, you can't take out the Chicago roots from Derrick Rose. He's always going to be known as a Chicago Bull, youngest MVP ever. There you go. We'll start off with with his hands. Pretty much same set of hands every single time. The only thing different, as you can see this hand, I don't know why it's a bit darker than the other hand, this left magnetized hand, but the only thing that separates him, I guess, from the regular hands is because of his tattoos. And you know, you'll see from Rodman, not Iverson, I believe only Rodman has the tattoo on his hand, at least on my collection, him and Derrick Rose right now. So yeah, it's kind of like oily as well, as you can see there. I don't know why. You know, even his face, when I got him, yeah, that's kind of like a different tone of hands. You can see the follow-through hand. I really love this follow-through, even though Derrick Rose is not known for his shot. The pointy hands when he directs traffic as a point guard, although he's not that good at, you know, being a point guard, so to speak, as far as CP3 type of guy. He also has a magnetized ball. So you can see there, it just sticks. You just gotta look for the logo, the Spalding logo. Normally that's the sweet spot of the magnet. If you don't find it on the other side, then you know there's only two sides, so can't go wrong. You got a 50-50 chance. MVP trophy. So it's pretty much the same as Kevin Durant. They don't have a championship trophy yet. No, not yet. At least Kevin Durant, as the time of this video, it's only May 2017 when I uploaded this. He might be very well be on his way to his first, but we'll see. You know, we'll see about that that trilogy with Cleveland. It's inevitable. You know, they're up 3-0. Cleveland is up 3-0, so we'll see. We'll find out. It'll be a good matchup, I hope. You know, we're seeing all these blowouts so far this NBA playoffs. Yeah, it's always been the case, but you know, it's kind of ridiculous now. They're blowing teams out by 30. Boston got blown out by like 40. It was 50 points at one point. I think it was like 41. I don't know, but like who no one wants to watch that. There you go. Let's go back to the figure. Derrick Rose. As you can see here, the shorts comes in separately, as you saw earlier, in a different bag, and that's I believe that's to avoid staining, because well, so far with all my figures, like Scottie Pippen has staining on his arm when I put the armband. It happens more, I guess, with the lighter toned player. Scottie Pippen is lighter toned than, let's say, Dennis Rodman and Michael Jordan, so I think it's more prominent. I'm afraid with my Allen Iverson, because he got some tattoos in there, so you know, as much as possible I don't want that to stain, but I don't know. And you can see there, just, you know, the good thing about this is what sets them apart, guys like Derrick Rose and Dennis Rodman, Allen Iverson, is their tattoos. And I think it's excellent that because otherwise, like Michael Jordan, they were just the same body all the time, you know. And one thing I do like about too is that, you know, as you can see the shoes, Derrick Rose, I don't know what number is that
if they have a lot of accessories, let's say somebody like Allen Iverson,
it kind of hides the joints. And as you can see here with Derrick Rose, he does have these knee pads, pretty thick too, and pretty nice looking. So it does hide, as you can see there from the bottom, you can kind of see that it's kind of peeking out. But for the most part, it's covering his knees. That means it's covering the joints on his knees. And as far as uniform, it's a pretty cool uniform too. I've never owned a new uniform yet. And what I mean by that is, current teams. I'm always going for the throwback, like Jordan, Pippen, Rod, Bulls players. But I didn't notice that they have a different pattern now. Like there's some parts that are mesh and what's not. And you'll see it from my later clips that I'm kind of comparing them to the old Bulls jersey, and you can see the sweet home Chicago. How can you not love this guy from Chicago? He has the Chicago blood in him, through and through. He's going to be a Chicago guy. I would love to see him back towards the end of his career, just to sign him as like a token player, kind of like Scottie Pippen towards the end of his career. I know, honestly, I think he's pretty much done. He's still going to be a serviceable point guard, but we can't expect even an all-star appearance from Derrick Rose from here on out. Maybe a 12-point, 13-point guy. Yeah, he will show some flashes every once in a while, but he's got to learn how to be a playmaker. He's got to work on his shot, because the explosiveness, even though he did show glimpses of that on his first year at New York, and he played a pretty good number of games. But to be more effective, I would say you gotta learn to better pass the ball, and this is coming from a huge fan of Derrick Rose, and be more of a playmaker and a spot up shooter. And I know that's not his game; it's based upon his explosiveness, but you gotta learn that. Love this head sculpt though. Love this. I love this serious look more than the other head sculpt, which is the action head sculpt. But you can see the likeness is really there. This one's pretty amazing as well. I always said this, like, Enterbay does tremendous head sculpts. I wish they would expand their license more, but I know they're kind of limited right now to like fringe licenses as well. It's a kind of weird ones. I'm glad that they had the NBA, because I do love the NBA, and I think NBA is a global sport. Like a lot of people watches it, unlike, let's say, American football, where they're wearing helmets. Although I think it's gonna nice to translate into a figure because of the pads and helmet and all that stuff. But I don't think it would appeal to anyone outside of people in the U.S. because it's American football. Now, as far as soccer, I know that's a big sport as well worldwide, but in Asia, I believe it's not that big. So, but basketball, in China, anywhere else, it's pretty big. Basketball is universal. So I hope they expand their license. Tackle some DC, I don't know, Marvel, something like that. But you can see this head sculpt right here. It's pretty strong. Even on the first one, you can see the pores on his face. So that's magnificent. I've never seen. Even on Hot Toys, I believe they are in level of Hot Toys quality when it comes to head sculpt. It's not like Hot Toys is always a hit on their head sculpt anyway. Of course, Enterbay has some misses, but pretty much, I would say for the most part, they are pretty good. As far as this, it's pretty much posable. I haven't gotten one of their 1/9 series yet, and I know that's more posable because it has more joints, but the drawback is it's more exposed as well. So being the 1/6, you kind of just have the elbow, you don't have the rotation on his biceps, so kind of lose some articulation there. But I'm okay with that. I'd sacrifice that for aesthetics, because if you have those, I don't think it's gonna look that great. But in this case, I'm pretty happy with it. This is the post that he has on their website, where he's kind of dunking. And unfortunate what happened to Derrick Rose, youngest MVP ever. He was Russell Westbrook before Russell really exploded. Now he's a triple-double machine. Of course, we all know that. But back in 2011 or 2000, back then, Derrick Rose was the man. Like, Russell back then was kind of a wild card. He shoots a lot. He still does. But, back then, if you ask me, I wouldn't trade Derrick Rose for Prime Rose for Russell Westbrook, at least at that time. Of course, now you would, but you know, he has the control. I think that's the difference between Derrick Rose and Russell Westbrook back then. Was he's more controlled. He has the athleticism as well of Westbrook. He has the explosiveness, but unfortunately he was robbed because of these injuries. And comparing his status to, let's say, Grant Hill, you know, guys who were robbed early. Him, I wouldn't say Tracy McGrady. Tracy McGrady has a good run before he started slowing down and getting injuries. But Derrick Rose, he was drafted 08, 09, and then he got injured 4 years later. It was too short. It was too short of a run. Even though it's a great run, he captured the youngest MVP ever. Like this post right here, because I still watches his highlights, and this is where he dunked on Goran Dragic back then, and you can hear Stacey King going wild, about when he dunked it two-handed, and that's a point guard. So it's really explosive. Yeah, I mean, who knows what would have happened if he stayed healthy? The Bulls were, fighting Cleveland back then. They're never gonna win against the Heat back in the day. Even with Cleveland when LeBron James was there. But we had a better shot if Jimmy Butler's prime compared to Derrick Rose's prime is I wouldn't say not even close. Derrick Rose, if you give me prime Derrick Rose against prime Jimmy Butler, who's our player right now, I'll take Derrick Rose prime, because he was unstoppable back then. Even when LeBron James was checking him, he checked him pretty good for I think the fourth game of Miami on the Eastern Conference Finals. But you got to understand, Derrick Rose is only 3 years into the league, or 4 years into the league back then. Who knows what he would have done if he of course he's going to improve had he not injured his knee. But compared, like I was saying earlier, compared his situation with Grant Hill, Penny Hardaway, Brandon Roy, I think he has the most to lose, because he had the hardware, compared to those guys. He had the MVP against LeBron, number 1 seed back then. So he's not on his way. He was already there. But thanks to Tibbs for keeping him in the game against Philadelphia. I would never forget that game. Now his career is ruined. And size comparison wise, you can see Allen Iverson and Kevin Durant. Obviously Durant is so much taller than Derrick Rose. He's almost 7 feet tall. Rose is around 6'4", but he's pretty much the same height as Allen Iverson, which is kind of shady back then, because we all know Allen Iverson is a stretch at 6 feet tall. Also, the body wise, that's one thing that separates Rose from the other point guard, is he's buff. He's a big body, kind of like Russell Westbrook, and Allen Iverson is $180 soaking wet. And from this picture, they look pretty much the same. But I would say Derrick Rose is a little bit rounder shoulder, a little bit more muscular, but still not a noticeable difference. But they never played, or maybe they did play it against each other, but I can't remember now. I think Allen is on his way out and Derrick Rose was there. And as you can see here, this is the rest of the Bulls lineup. If I had to make an all-time Bulls lineup, this is pretty much it. Now for the center, I would probably go with Joakim Noah, and I know Gasol played for us, and he has a better resume than Joakim, but he stayed for the Bulls for 2 years, so that doesn't count. Joakim, I would say, is their most decorated center. And I know we had, in the past, I'm not discounting what, the other players have done, but, my time was Joakim Noah, and defensive player of the year. Unfortunately for him, he didn't have the right people around him. Like Derrick Rose was always injured when he was here on his prime, but Joakim Noah's prime, the hustle that he provided, it was great. Like I said, I think after there was an old Bulls player, I forgot his name, but he was okay. We didn't win any championship with him either, but at least with Joakim, we got the defensive player of the year, and now he's in New York, and he's New York's problem now. But yeah, you can see a pretty good lineup, and there you go. And so for my last post, I put him Derrick Rose with hoisting his MVP trophy, the last one or the only one he would get in his career. Hey, that ain't too bad though. Not everyone gets an MVP trophy. Unfortunate, but as a figure, it's pretty good. It's a strong head sculpt, nice figure. $120 at Big Bad Toy Store right now. So if I were you guys, I'd pick this up. He's he's gonna go down in the record books as the youngest MVP ever. One of the most tragic moments in the NBA. He got robbed, but I would say he's pretty iconic. At least for me, I'm a Bulls fan, will always be. And even though Derrick plays for the next, like 20 teams in the NBA, he'd still remain a Bull in my heart. So, thank you for watching, guys. Like I said, click the link down below if you're gonna purchase this Big Bad Toy Store. Please like and subscribe to my videos, and until next time.